Hey, good day to you. Good to see you, Team Healthy. I'm glad to have you with me here. Before we get started, I'm going to give it another minute or two for people to jump in. I just picked up a question from a lady in Russia asking if the problem that I had last Wednesday with a snake got resolved. You remember, my wife came in right before the live feed came on and said, "Hey, there's a snake out there in the front shrubbery beds." We were actually having some landscape people here helping us out with some stuff, and so apparently they were digging enough and caught this garden snake. Yes, one of the guys took it, disposed of it, put it somewhere else. My wife quit screaming, and I had a happy day. So thank you for asking. Thank you for your concern. And no, Gus didn't get in with the snake. He would have gone absolutely berserko. So much for my tragedies here in my life. Hey, look, I gave a title to today's live feed. Is it the narcissist or am I the one off base? One of the things I'm going to be doing as we do this every week is I'm going to be picking up on some of the themes that you all have as you send in the questions. And not all of the questions obviously are going to be on that theme, but I had several that picked up on this kind of thing. Is it me or is it this narcissist is twisting me around? And I want us to understand as we go through our questions today, one of the things that narcissists love to do is keep you dysregulated. They want to make sure that you question your thoughts. They want you to question your common sense or your perceptions. They want you to question what other people are thinking about you. So anything they can do to create that sense of doubt or insecurity inside of you, it's like, oh, good, I'm winning. And so I want to go through these questions we have today on that kind of topic and others because it allows us to get into the weeds and see how these narcissistic trends and tendencies play out in your life. By the way, if you're new to our format here, when you have a question, go ahead and put it underneath the video there in the comments section that's there. We have the live chat, but then we also have the comment section underneath the video, and I see every one of them. And obviously, I'm not able to get to all of the questions, but do that, and then next week I'll respond to the questions that have come in through the week. So here's some of the questions that we've had that came in through this past week. And this first one, I think that it speaks on behalf of so many of you who are just plain weary. This first individual asks, is it unhealthy to not want to form new relationships after being so duped by so many people who always said, I love you and I'll always be there for you? I don't want to invest any more time in new people. And so, so her question is it just me or is it all of them? And there are times when you can have exposure to what we might refer to as a cluster of narcissism of narcissists. We've talked about communal narcissists in some of my videos in the past, or collective narcissism, and basically it tends to be set up by a chief narcissist and then flying monkeys that surround them with all sorts of apologetics. You can have what we refer to as relationship fatigue. And that's what this woman here is describing. She has relationship fatigue. And so she says, is it unhealthy to not want to form new relationships? And see, that's where I want to go back and acknowledge when you're exposed to these people who are so overbearing or controlling or non empathetic and confusing, over time, it's like, maybe I'm the problem. And I know that many of you have had that kind of thought. Maybe it's just me because, I'm the common denominator in all of these. It's you don't want to disintegrate into that kind of self-deprecating kind of thought. Now, obviously, we each want to have enough of a sense of self-reflection that we can be honest about our contributions. But keep in mind, one of the things that I've mentioned, and this is a pessimistic notion, is that a high percentage of the people in front of you or me don't really put a lot of effort into the making of healthy relationships. My guesstimate is about 20% of individuals truly are a student of healthy relationships. 20%. Now, the good news is here you are, you're on a live feed right here where it's like, okay, I want to get in there and learn. You listen to videos, you read books, and it's your way of indicating that you know that there's always something better that you can pick up on and you want to be a positive contributor. And I'd like to think that most of you are inside that 20%. Unfortunately, there are plenty who think I already know everything I need to know. Why would I want to read something or listen to someone like Dr. C or Dr. Ramani or some of these other kind of people? Why would I do that? I already know all the stuff that I need to know. And if that's the case, if for you to say, I'm pulling back and I'm not really willing to invest my emotional energy into that, I get it. Now, the one thing that I would encourage that you not get so caught up into is, and that is, don't get so caught up in the all or nothing, black or white kind of thinking that you just completely go solo in your life. I do believe that it's so beneficial to have individuals that know you or me and to offer support. And so don't completely close yourself off. But I do think that what this woman is saying is, I'm having to be judicious and know it's not wrong for you to say, I'm going to take a vacation for a while. But at the same time, if somebody does come along and they have a sense of decency and transparency, be willing to at least take a step. You don't have to go all the way in right at first. Narcissists tend to go pretty quickly in trying to formulate relationships, but at least keep yourself in the arena, if not all the way in with tight relationships. So kind of stay away from the all or nothing. Um, Another question that I know many of you have had this experience. Dr. C, I have a question. It seems like narcissistic people are so drawn to me, like a moth to a flame, regardless of whether it's in relationships, jobs, or just everyday life. Is this a common theme? Okay, let's just pause right there. First, my immediate reaction is congratulations that people find you to be an appealing person. That's what I first pick up on here. That, like you say, if it's in relationships, job, everyday life, people can look toward you and say, well, there goes somebody that I think that I could get along with. And I actually think that a mark of a healthy personality is to have what I call the approachability factor. In other words, people see you as someone that they could approach, that they could talk to. You seem to be safe. That's a major compliment to you. Now, let's throw it in with the narcissists. The narcissists are out there, and rather than them thinking, well, let's see, I'd like to have relationships with people who are safe just as I'm safe, and I'd like to this be mutually gratifying. Nope, they don't think that way, do they? They're thinking, who among you out there will become my narcissistic supply? People that will make me feel good about myself and, do what I want them to do and let me be in control. There's that really nice person over there, that person that's friendly and engaging and willing and open. I'm going to see what I can do with that. And it's so disillusioning for you to realize that instead of people wanting to reciprocate your good efforts, they see your good efforts as an opportunity to jump and to seize upon it for their own personal gain. That's why one of the things that I repeat over and over is that narcissists not only want to be in control of you, they're quite willing, yeah, that's not strong enough. They're strongly inclined to figure out how they can manipulate you. They can exploit you. If you have good ingredients, hmm, those good ingredients are there to prop me up. Let's make it work. And that's how they operate. And as a result, you're going to have to just have what I call a built in pessimism. Certain people out there will watch for you for that purpose of building their supply. So let's throw this in. You don't need to get rid of your approachable, kind, and friendly and pleasant kind of demeanor. Frankly, we need as many people out there in the world who are willing to do that as we can possibly garner. What you do want to do, though, is you also want to have that kindness and goodness, etc., with a simultaneous commitment to boundaries. And boundaries doesn't mean no words. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. We often think of boundaries as knowing when to say no, and sometimes it is. But boundaries simply means that you have a definition of what you know to be wise and best, and you live inside your definition. And part of that boundary can be that you're aware that there are prowlers out there are predators out there, narcissists who are trying to gain supply. And so, as part of your boundaries, you understand the necessity and importance for assertiveness, consequences, stipulations, knowing when to remove yourself. Or knowing when to say that's not going to work for me, or this does not represent who I am, therefore I'm moving on. And so you can have your decency and your approachability, just make sure that it's not so lopsided that you forget your better boundaries as well. It's not an either or; it's a both and. And when narcissists come along and say, "But I still need to be in control of you," it's like, I realize that. I know that's your need, but that doesn't match pitch with my need. And so, calmly, firmly, with determination, you move forward with your decency. And if the narcissist is over there flailing and angry and all like that, my boundary tells me that's not my responsibility. That's their responsibility. It's my responsibility to remain that decent person and try to connect with individuals who can appreciate it. So yes, they do tend to come at you, like you say, like a moth toward a flame. But you can certainly help offset much of that with your healthy assertiveness. All right, now this next one is this is one of these. Is it me, or am I the? Is it the narcissist, or am I the one that's off base? It comes into that category. This person asks, "Can you speak more to the audience about how you can discern the difference between a narcissist being vulnerable and a narcissist playing the victim to manipulate?" All right, that's a great question. It's kind of like, how am I supposed to look at this? Am I just off base, or is something going on with that narcissist? That's where I'm coming from with this. Why don't we say this? When a person is going to open up with you with vulnerabilities, the healthy purpose for that is they want to show that they have enough of a self awareness so that they can remain in a growth mode. For example, if I have done something and it's like, that wasn't my finest, or if I have something in my past, it's like I carry some pain. Well, there are times when it would be appropriate to speak with a trusted individual about those things and let it be known, here are some things that I have experienced. This is what it's done to me. These are my pros and cons. These are my hurts or my weaknesses. Let's talk about how we can make things go in a better kind of direction. Would you want to join me in that? Now, when a person is vulnerable like that, and the specific purpose is growth and openness, or perhaps accountability, I think that's absolutely wonderful. We need to sharpen one another with those kinds of disclosures and our willingness to enter into that kind of space. Narcissists, however, can think, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I can make you think that I'm really credible, and how I can get you to actually join me in my efforts to be in control and all of this. And keep in mind, they're game players. So it's like, I know I'll show myself to be vulnerable, but actually, what I'm doing is I'm sucking you in, and then I'm going to get you to feel sorry for me, and I'm going to get you to say, "Oh, there, let me help you." And before you know it, kind of like Tom Sawyer and the fence, you're painting my fences for me. You're taking care of my issues. Narcissists might admit a mistake, at least superficially, or because it's so obviously they can't get around it, for the purpose of bringing you in as their ally, or perhaps even bringing you in as someone who becomes an apologist on their behalf. So if you say something like, "Well, okay, I really did. I had an affair, or I was involved in a really bad argument, or I've had a lot of hurt because of people who have done me wrong," and you're kind of watching. It's like, are you feeling sorry for me? But let me tell you about all the bad things that prompted all of that to happen, and why I was I was victimized. And when they do it, for you to feel sorry for them, what they're wanting is for you to put your arm of comfort around them in such a way that it's like they can walk away thinking, "Whew, I got off the hook, didn't I? And it's a manipulation. And it's their way of trying to stay ahead of the posse. And in case you're going to be in the posse, I need to make sure you're on my team. So let me go ahead and admit some of the things that I have to admit, but in such a way where I actually sidestep some of the strain or difficulty that goes into being truly accountable. I mean, it's a twisted way of thinking. And as a therapist, in all the many years that I worked with individuals, there would be times when I would talk with people who were in fact confessing, but I just got the sense that there's always a but on the backside. Well, I confess that I did this wrong. Want to know why? It's because of this miserable person here, or that set of circumstances there. If that hadn't happened, then I would never have been in that fix in the first place. But there it was. And as opposed to somebody saying, I've had some difficulties or I've had some confusions, I need to figure this out. And there's a true distinction between the two. So, how can you tell the difference? Basically, you watch and see if a person's in a growth mode. And sometimes it doesn't reveal itself right away. Sometimes you want to see if this person does this self revealing and make themselves vulnerable in a sense that it really does seem to make a true difference versus they're just kind of, crying crocodile tears. Okay. That's a tough one. And it takes some real discernment to be able to pick up on that. All right. This next one is an extremely common type of question. Um, it's about the narcissist calling you a narcissist. Okay. This person says, I was almost convinced by my partner the issues we had were because I was a narcissist. It scared me so much. I went to my friends that I knew who would be truthful and had to ask, why am I still questioning myself when reassured by a caring friend that there's no way that I'm a narcissist? Okay, that's something that so many of you I know have experienced. The word narcissism, frankly, it's still a white hot topic. It's something that's in the news, and we know about it. It's becoming something that we have an expanding awareness of. So to many people, though, the word narcissism means, okay, that's an ugly name that I can call someone because I know there's something wrong with a person who's a narcissist. And so if you disagree with me, that means you're a narcissist. As opposed to saying you disagree with me, well, that becomes an opportunity for us to know each other better. Let's talk about what that's all about. Narcissists are constantly looking for an angle. Part of narcissism is looking for ways to be superior over other individuals. And so when a narcissist thinks, okay, I'm going to use this term narcissism to my advantage. And so you may think that I'm a narcissist. We're not going to address that right now. What I'm going to say is, oh, so you think I'm a narcissist? Let's talk about narcissism. Go get a mirror and look into that because you'll find one right there. And so they want to keep you way off your game. And it just is their way of saying, I'll just turn the tables and it's just me keeping you confused. And so you begin asking, well, is it me? Am I the one that's off base? And I go back and say, they're manipulators. Now, I frankly appreciate this person saying, I went to some trusted friends and I talked about it. And I wanted to ask, give me your input or talk to me about your impressions of who I am and how I come across. I want to know because if there's a concern, then I'd like to be aware of it so that I can make adjustments. That's really healthy. Healthy people have a sense that says we need each other to help out when our blind spots show up or when we just have an iron sharpens iron kind of a thing. We just need to keep each other sharp on those kind of things. Narcissists, they don't want to learn. They want to accuse. They want to tell. They want to superimpose. And so, one of their favorite things is to take their troubles that you're picking up on them and then turning it around and saying, you're the one that has the problem. By the way, we do have a word for that. It's called projection. It's a defense mechanism. Projection means that you see in other people what you refuse to come to terms with inside yourself. Another simple illustration. Let's suppose that I have a problem being very critical. And so you're over there and you express a thought or a preference or an idea. And so what do I say? You sure are critical. I don't know. I've never been around someone as critical as you. That's projection. I have the problem, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to see it in you, and we're going to talk about it all day long. And so when they call you that narcissist, there's and if you know that person has that strong controlling and manipulative kind of experience, you can be assured we got some projection going on. That's their way of defending themselves by putting you on the defense. You know, the thing that I know is so triggering is that there are so many different ways that these people can do their games, which is why the videos just keep coming. When I say we're going to quit doing these live midweek with Dr. C feeds, when we run out of questions, we're not going to run out of topics. We're not going to run out of questions for a long, long time because this is so persistent, and this is something that just keeps going on and on. And there's so many different angles that we can look at. So thanks for that question, and be aware of what projection is. This next one, and this goes to how do we manage differences and how can we do it in a proper way? This person says, what's with the narcissist never being able to answer questions in general? I could ask a simple question, and God forbid, a question about our relationship, and it gets weeks of stonewalling. Okay. This goes back to that question about vulnerability. In this case, when a person stonewalls, it's their way of saying, if you want to ask me a question about my contributions in a not so wonderful way to our strains, you pick the wrong person. Keep in mind that there are many, many different ways that narcissists will attempt to stay in control. And one of the ways they do it is through their stonewalling. Now, I know that in times past, I've made reference to John Gottman. He's a PhD level person who studied marriages, but much of his content can be applied to relationships beyond marriage. And he zeroes in on four different characteristics that are indicators of relationships are about to fall apart. One is criticism, two is defensiveness, three is stonewalling, and four is contempt. He calls them the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Contempt is the worst when you see somebody that has strong contempt. But when you have somebody that goes straight into that stonewalling, you know, the silent treatment, evasiveness, being non-available, even if they're physically there, mentally, emotionally, they're completely checked out. That's their way of saying, I have no willingness whatsoever to contribute in a constructive way to our relationship. And so what's with it for a narcissist who just simply can't answer a question? For example, if you were to say, hey, we had a difference regarding the way that we're going to handle such and such, let's talk about that. They're over there thinking, if I go into that space with you, that means I'm giving up power. And so they don't want to do that. And so their stonewalling is their way of sustaining their said power. And it's all about power and control and manipulation. And you're over there thinking, I'm just trying to come to some sort of resolution. This is not a power game. And in the narcissist's mind, it's like, oh, everything is a power game for me. Don't you forget it. And so just keep in mind that that's what they're doing. By the way, today's Wednesday. Next Monday, I'm uploading a video about some of the 7 of the most common passive aggressive control games that narcissists play. And this is part of it. And so just keep in mind they have openly aggressive ways they can do it, but then they can also be quite passive aggressive. All right. Next question. Why do they have a need to pick fights so much? I have a female relative who acts superior and hateful, especially to the other women. She acts like she doesn't want or need interaction with them. And then she gets angry and hostile when she feels neglected or disrespected. I think maybe it's so she can play the victim and whine to her flying monkeys about how poorly she's treated. And the answer is yes. And one of the favorite games that narcissists like to play is the victim's game. It's like, look at how badly everybody's been mistreating me. Of course, they don't mention the fact that they have this gasoline can and they're sprinkling it everywhere, and then they throw the match so that it all blows up. They forget that detail. But in this case, why do they have to pick a fight? And the victim is constantly trying to figure out, how can I get off the hot seat? Now, it's interesting that this person says that she has a female, or this person has a female relative who's especially hateful toward other females. And this kind of goes back to the question, did they have something in their past where there was a competition in a peer group, back in the teen years with the mean girls kind of situations? Or was there a favored sister or a mother who kept putting them down? I don't really know, but there's a reason that they do this more so with women than others, and I would have to know that person more fully to be able to comment on that. But it is interesting that she's trying to be the head female, if you will, in the kind of group here. And then it says that she wants to whine to her flying monkeys. That implies already that she's trying to create a collective around her. You people, you're my flying monkeys. You're the ones that I'm going to talk to, and you're going to go out there and explain to everybody else why I'm so right and how if we judge somebody, we are correct. It's all part of their game of avoiding self-examination, avoiding accountability, and you've heard the old phrase, the best defense is a good offense. And so what they do is they try to put people on their defenses, so they take the offense, and in the end, I'm the winner. When in fact, what if we decided that winning is not the objective here? And the narcissist is like, what'd you say? They don't think that way at all. It's like, oh, it's all about winning. Now, speaking of passive aggressive, it's a relatively short question, but I picked up on several different indicators or cues that we can zero in on with this. This person says, my husband has many qualities of narcissism, including financial deception and irresponsibility, and is an alcoholic. Is this common? Okay, right there in that simple question, I jotted down some notes. First, I pick up on no desire whatsoever to be a team player. That's the irresponsibility. Second, they have including financial deception. Okay, when you're hiding money, that says you don't trust people. It also says you have no willingness for accountability. When she says that this person is also an alcoholic, well, that tells me there's a lot of passive aggressiveness there. Alcoholism is heavily about suppressing your real needs and feelings and saying, I'm going to go over here and hang out with Jack Daniels or Bud Weiser. I'm just going to do that, and I'll just kick the can down the road another time. And very much, they tend to have a lot of suppressed anger and frustration with life, and so alcoholism can actually be a strong indicator of passive aggressiveness. And then, in addition, there can be pathological defenses here. And then to top it off, there's a strong addictive element. So you have all these different dimensions going on in this one simple scenario, which, by the way, just as an aside, that's why I love my work as a therapist. Simple scenarios like this can give us indicators in all sorts of different directions of unresolved issues that need to be examined. And part of therapy is to break it down in such a way that says, okay, I see that, well, we have this going on and this going on and this. Let's take a look at them if necessary, one by one, or let's see how it's all part of a pattern, and let's see where it came from and why it's there, and what we can do about it and what our cleaner alternatives is. That's what is therapeutic. Now, when you have something like this, this person, she asked, is this common? The answer is yeah. Narcissists are not about therapeutic growth. They can be about trying to make themselves look good. They can be about maintaining control or having their jollies or passing off their difficulties on everybody else. But narcissists are not about true introspection for the purpose of being a calming and a positive presence. One of the primary ingredients that's so necessary for therapeutic growth is a sense of humility. In humility, you don't want to just say, hey, I'm this narcissist, and let me tell you how you're supposed to do everything. Okay. In humility, what you say is, I know that I have difficulties, and I know that I've created some strain. I've got to take a hard look at myself. And there's a sense of contrition that goes along with it, in addition to the willingness to do the quiet work of adjustments. And you make restitution. You develop, in AA, I'm thinking about that when they talk about appealing to your higher power. Another way to put it is, you develop what I call transcendent thinking. I want to make sure that my mind and my lifestyle choices are plugged into a much stronger, deeper sense of purpose and meaning. When you have that, then you have somebody that's in a growth mode. They're really in a therapeutic way. All of these things that I mentioned here indicates this is an individual who's just perpetuating all of this, and they're not into growth. So, is this common in narcissists? The answer is yes. They tend to talk about but do little in terms of making adjustments. Okay. All right. This next question takes us inside a counselor's office. What do you do when the narcissist knows exactly what to say to a counselor or a pastor to con them? And sometimes people that are in the ministry are in a double role at times for being a pastor, for that matter, or a counselor for that matter. OB-GYNs or family practice doctors, sometimes they can be in that role too, because of the personal dimension that's there. Um, so, what do you do when the narcissist knows exactly what to say to the counselor to con them? Um, when it's you and you're sitting there and that narcissistic individual is trying to smooth or talk their way out of something or put the blame onto you, one of the last things you want to do is to throw your hands up in disgust and say, oh, this is ridiculous. I can't believe they're saying this. I can't believe that no, that's not at all true. And you just kind of go off and you illustrate, okay, they're under my skin now and it's working. Now, as a therapist, I this one question, I can't even tell you how many times, I mean, literally hundreds of times that I would be encountered with a situation where I'm having to determine, okay, who's the more credible person here? And many times, a narcissistic individual can be very slick, and they can come in and they can say, "Doctor Therapist, I'm so sorry for everything, and I've got this person that I'm living with. It's so difficult. And, I do everything that I can, but nothing ever pleases that person. And at times it can be very true. Okay. I'm willing. Now, what I also want to know is, okay, do you have similar thoughts about your own contributions to this? And many times they'll give kind of a cursory, well, yeah, sometimes I don't respond well, but let's go back and talk about that person anyway. And it's always the other person's fault. And so people like myself, if you've been doing it for a while, it's like, okay, I know what I'm watching for. And if a person doesn't really go very deeply into their own ownership of some of the relationship difficulties, that's a huge red flag. So in this person's case, she's the one, he or she is the one sitting there saying, well, I'm having all the blame put over here into my lap. What do I do with that therapist? The answer is be non narcissistic. And rather than going into a counter control mode or going into a high defensive mode, uh, let it be known, I'm quite willing to be honest and objective about my contributions here. And I know that I have A, B, and C that I need to concentrate on. And I acknowledge that. I'm willing to work on it. I'd like for my partner here, whoever it is that's there with you, to take the same approach. Right now, I don't really feel like it's a two-way street. All I can say is I'm willing to work on my side of the equation. And if that person would like to do so with me, I would love that. If not, I'm still committed to my growth. Show yourself to be non narcissistic. And what it does is it puts the narcissist who's over there pointing that finger of blame, it puts them on the spot. Okay, are you going to respond in kind? Because that's a pretty good answer. And so be non-narcissistic, be the better alternative. And by the way, you don't have to confess to stuff that you don't need to confess to. And it's okay to say to a therapist, I think you're going to need to know. I just have very different perspectives here. No apologies, but we can get to my perspectives about that other person in due time. I'm willing to look at my own issues and let that speak. And for a guy like myself, I'm impressed. That makes a difference, and it helps me know how we're going to take shape in the ways that we have our ongoing communications. Okay, another question. Let's see what our time is. Let's go a couple more. This person asked, "What is the best response when a narcissist makes firm sounding demands? As funny as it sounds, when it sounds like they're talking to a dog, I don't even think Gus would respond." By the way, Gus is not in here with me with the live feeds in case there's a truck outside. He'll start barking. Yeah, Gus doesn't like it when people give these hard, firm kind of demands. I suspect your dog doesn't either. In other words, as an example, this person may say, "We're going to do this and not that," or "You're going to learn that you can't do that." What do you say? What's the best response? Well, let's kind of take it backwards. What's the worst response? The worst response is to get into a tit for tat kind of battle. "You can't tell me what to do. And if you think that you're going to be over there barking orders, I've got news for you." No, no. All that means is they have just established the pace and you've said, "Okay, I'll respond in kind." Remember my mantra, Dr. C, DRC stands for dignity, respect, and civility. And guess what? I can have those kind of ingredients. And if you want to join me, that would really be nice. If you don't want to join me, I can still be that way. That's how committed I am to my healthiness. And so if this person starts barking orders like they're doing it to a dog, "You're going to do this and not that, or you're going to learn what you can't do," calm firmness. That's the response. So in calm firmness, it's like, "I see that you have some opinions and you feel strongly about it. I have opinions too, and I'm going to consult within myself what makes the most sense. So I'll weigh it out and then do what I deem to be appropriate." Okay, that's enough. It's like, "Well, you don't have to weigh it out. I'll just tell you what to do." Okay, that's certainly your prerogative. I'm comfortable with who I am and how I think. No defenses beyond that. No explanation. No, "Why are you doing this?" What I'm illustrating here is what I call the less is more approach. I don't have to go into defense. Being me is pretty reasonable. There's another of my older videos. Your number one superpower when you're dealing with a narcissist, and that superpower is trust yourself. If I trust myself, and it's like, you can talk to me about changes and you can talk to me about lessons I need to learn. I'm always a learning person, but I trust myself and stay inside that place and don't go into the point counterpoint game because all that means is game on. We have a power play here, and the narcissist says, "And I will play that game until I pound you into a puddle." Nope, not doing that. Calm firmness. Okay. All right. Last question, and this goes back to being inside the therapist office. Is my therapist a covert narcissist? All right, let me just pause right there. Back when I was in graduate school, especially when I was working on my doctorate, we tended to have small classes. By the way, I went to the University of North Texas, which is the same university as Dr. Phil. People say, "Oh, you sound like Dr. Phil." It's like, well, we're both from North Texas, I guess. That's anyway. He was a couple of years ahead of me, by the way. I never met him, but he had some of the same professors I had. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, is my therapist a covert narcissist? When I would sit there in some of my seminars with, let's say, 6 or 7 others, I would look around the room and I'd think, if I had to choose somebody here that I would go to for therapy, which one would it be? And there could be a couple of folks in there. It's like, I really respect this person, or this individual has great wisdom or insight. And I would say, "Yeah, that's a covert narcissist." And then there could be a couple of folks in there. It's like, I really respect this person, or this individual has great wisdom or insight. And I would say, "Yeah, that's a covert narcissist." And then there would be times when it's like, I have no idea why that person over there is in the room. I don't want to sound condemning or superiority complex, but there are just times when it's like, I just don't really trust that person. There are times when people are drawn to the profession of psychotherapy when in fact maybe they're trying to work out their own issues, but this is the way they choose to do it. Or maybe they just feel like, well, if I'm the one that tells everybody how to do it, then I win. So not everybody approaches the field of psychotherapy for the finest reasons. That's unfortunate, but it does happen. So is my this the question, is my therapist a covert narcissist? Because this has happened so many times. I tell her something and suddenly she starts laughing when there, to me, is nothing to laugh at. Then she won't answer me when I ask, why did she laugh? And then when I ask her again the same question a week later, she'll say, I don't remember anymore why I laughed. And that's the end of the discussion. And so she's asking, is my is my therapist a covert narcissist? Well, what you're describing here sure does sound like gaslighting, which is keeping you in that confused state. Is this me or is it that person over there? Am I the problem or what? And when someone has that position of presumed authority, like a therapist might have, then it's like, well, they're the one that has the degree, and they're the one that I came to seek help. So what am I supposed to do? There are times, particularly if this is an ongoing pattern, when you can suspect something nefarious is going on here. I may say something or I reveal something about myself, and there's kind of a response from the therapist. It's like, I'm not comfortable with that. And I think that we therapists sometimes need to be called out. Hey, do you have an issue here? Or is there something that you're picking up on that I need to be aware of? And I think that we therapists need to have accountability because we're all in this together. And so when a person does this sidestepping or seems to have kind of this quiet mocking or dismissive attitude and then will not respond to the question and just kind of say, well, maybe it's just you, that tells me, yep, that's classic covert narcissism. That's classic gaslighting. So, all right, we're gonna end with that, but it illustrates with all of these different questions, there are so many ways that this narcissistic pattern can play out. And I so respect the fact that you who are on here with me and watching the videos are trying to figure it out. Because my number one goal is I want us to be a community where we encourage each other towards decency and openness and growth and accountability. I see all of these comments on the side, and I so respect the fact that you want to encourage each other. And I also am so thankful that you allow me to be a part of the journey with you. So let's keep growing. Let's stay on top of it. Like I say, we'll quit doing this when we run out of questions. I'll be back next week, by the way. 11 o'clock Central Time, US. And wherever it is, I picked up on many people from Europe and, of course, down in Australia and also all around Canada, the United States. And also, I'm so grateful that we have such a broad community, but we're right here in this one spot with each other. Let's stay strong. So, Team Healthy, if you have questions, go ahead and put them underneath in the comments section. And I look forward to picking up on them. I copy and paste, and we'll pick up on the questions for next week. And I hope you have a good rest of the week. No snakes here at the Carter house anymore. Hope so. And in the meantime, I hope you have a good rest of the week. And I shall see you next time. Have peace in your life. I want you to have peace. Bye.